Hello, this is Delisa Renideo. Welcome to my garden and welcome to my channel, Saying Yes to Life. Today, I'm going to talk about when goals aren't helpful. For the last 15 years of my mother's life, I helped take care of her. My husband helped. We had some other people that helped. And she had Parkinson's disease. And so this was a gradual, slow process. And in the beginning, she didn't need a lot of help. But as the years went by, she needed more and more. And during the final 6 months of her life, when she was very much alive and very much dying, I was with her in a different way. There were no more plans to make, no outcomes to work toward, no goals that made any sense anymore. And what mattered was just presence, sitting with her, being with her, listening to her, being quiet with her, adjusting a pillow, helping her to be comfortable, holding her hand, or just being present, and letting each day be exactly what it was. That time taught me something I couldn't have learned any other way. Some moments in life don't ask us to do more. They just ask us to be more present. And when we try to manage those moments, it only pulls us away from what really does matter. And before that, and during that same chapter of my life, I worked in hospice care myself. And before that, as a birth coach. So I had already been close to endings and beginnings. But being with my own mother made it personal in a way that nothing else could. It deepened my trust in the natural intelligence of life. In hospice, as you probably know, no one is trying to fix what is happening. There are no goals to reach, no timelines to optimize. There's simply care, listening, responding, staying close, and letting life happen the way it knows how to do. And birth surprisingly carries the same quality. Despite all our plans and preferences and even paying close attention to the calendar, birth unfolds in its own way, in its own time. You can support it, you can protect it, but you can't force it. What helps most is just, again, presence, being calm, trusting, trusting in life itself. Living at those thresholds, at both ends, taught me this. There are seasons when goals are not helpful. Not because goals themselves are wrong, but because they belong to a different phase of life. Now, this time of year, today is January 4th, with its sense of endings and beginnings, can bring into that sharper focus. We're encouraged to decide where we're going next. And we may be trying to figure that out before we've fully acknowledged what has ended. But endings ask for something else. They ask to be honored, respected, sometimes grieved, sometimes simply witnessed. And beginnings, real beginnings, often arrive quietly in their own time without instructions. You've probably heard, babies arrive in this world without instructions. So do our other kinds of births. I've experienced many, many changes in my life, and some of these were changes that I chose, and others were changes that just happened. And over time, I've learned to recognize that familiar feeling inside me, that quiet sense that says, things are changing, and I can't put my finger on it yet, but I know something is moving, and I've come to trust that feeling. I now recognize it as a gestation phase. When I tell my husband, I'm pregnant, he knows what I mean. It's a time when clarity hasn't arrived yet, but I can feel that something new is forming. And it's a time when one part of my life is slowly completing, even as another is preparing to be born. And I've learned that if I stay present, if I don't try to rush the process, there will come a day when I look around and I realize I have given birth to something new while I'm letting go of something else. And because of that, I relate to goals differently now. During these in between seasons, and for me, that's a big part of my life, my goals aren't about outcomes. They're about my orientation to life. So today, my goal may be I'm going to feel joy if it shows itself. Today, I'm going to notice beauty wherever it appears. Today, I'm going to accept that not knowing is perfectly okay right now. Those are goals that I can live inside. I've noticed that when I live this way, clarity tends to arrive on its own. It arrives later, it arrives naturally, it arrives without being forced. It kind of drops into my life. And when the time comes for more traditional types of goals, the measurable goals, they emerge from a deeper place, a truer place. So if you find yourself at the beginning of a year, as we are now, or just at the edge of something new that can happen at any time, and if goal setting feels heavy rather than hopeful and inspiring, please know there's nothing wrong with you. You may be in a hospice moment, or a birth moment, or, as often happens, both at once. And those moments are not empty. They're full of intelligence, of love, and of life quietly reorganizing itself, like the butterflies. What I learned from my mother and from standing at so many endings and beginnings over the years is this: sometimes the most meaningful way forward is simply to stay present, to stay open, to be kind to ourselves, where life reveals the next step. For me, that is hope. And it feels like a very real way of saying yes to life. Thank you so much for joining me. Honor the part of yourself that may be in the midst of endings and beginnings.